Why do we keep attracting the wrong people? It is a question that gnaws at us in silence, a question that grows louder every time trust is betrayed, every time a false friend reveals their mask, every time love is reduced to manipulation. We tell ourselves that we are unlucky. We whisper that fate is cruel, that destiny has cursed us. But deep inside, in the place where excuses cannot reach, there is another truth. We attract what we tolerate. We invite what we reflect. We allow what we do not control within ourselves. The ancient philosophers never asked, "Why do others wound me?" Instead, they asked, "Why do I allow myself to be wounded?" Marcus Aurelius, writing to himself in his Meditations, reminds us, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil." We must pause here. Notice, Marcus does not ask if the wrong people will appear. He assumes it. He knows it. He expects it. The wrong people are not an accident. They are part of the human fabric. And yet, he does not end in despair. He continues, "But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, not the same blood or birth, but the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine." The emperor's wisdom is brutal and liberating. Wrong people will come. You cannot escape them. What you can escape is the illusion that they define you. But why do we keep letting them in? Why do we, again and again, find ourselves in the same traps, surrounded by the same predators wearing different faces? Here lies the darker truth. It is not merely they who seek us. It is we who seek them. Not consciously, not deliberately, but the soul, restless, undisciplined, filled with ungoverned desire, becomes a beacon for those who wish to exploit it. As the Stoic teacher Epictetus put it, when someone is properly grounded in life, they shouldn't have to look outside themselves for approval. Yet we do. We look outward, hoping to be filled by others. That hunger, that need, is what they see. It is the flame that draws the moth, and when they come, we mistake their arrival for destiny, when in truth, it was our weakness that sent out the invitation. We do not want to hear this. We would rather point the finger outward, but the path of fortitude begins only when the finger turns inward. Seneca, in his letters, speaks to us like a stern but loving mentor. The first step in the process of learning is the unlearning of arrogance. To unlearn arrogance here means to abandon the belief that others alone are at fault. We are not innocent victims. We are participants in our own ruin. And so, the question changes. It is no longer, why do I keep attracting the wrong people? It becomes, why do I keep allowing them to remain? Why does my soul seek out what destroys it? This is where the philosophy cuts deep, like a surgeon's knife, removing the infection of excuses. For Stoicism teaches that every destructive relationship is, at its root, a failure of self-control. Think of it. Why does the manipulator find us? Because we have not mastered our desire for approval. Why does the liar ensnare us? Because we crave beautiful words more than truth. Why does the cruel partner stay in our life? Because we fear solitude more than we fear chains. The wrong people do not forge the chains. They simply fasten the ones we forged ourselves. Here is the essence. To stop attracting the wrong people, we must stop being the kind of soul that feeds on wrongness. We must harden ourselves against the cravings that draw them in. We must cultivate an inner citadel so fortified that deception finds no entry point, manipulation no leverage, and falsehood no comfort. And yet this is not merely about protection. It is about transformation. For even the wrong people are teachers, merciless teachers, but teachers nonetheless. Epictetus again. Difficulties show a man what he is. The wrong people are difficulties in flesh. They reveal to us where we are weak, where we are hungry, where we are enslaved. To curse them is to miss the lesson. To learn from them is to become free. But freedom is not found in bitterness. It is not found in withdrawing from the world in fear. Freedom is found in mastery. And mastery begins here by ceasing to ask why they keep coming and beginning to ask why we keep opening the door.
Part 1. The Mirror of the Soul. We live under the illusion that others are separate from us, that the people who enter our lives come as strangers with no connection to who we are. But the Stoics remind us that the world is a mirror and the soul is reflected back in the companions it keeps. Marcus Aurelius writes in Meditations, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Think carefully about this image. If the soul is dyed with anger, then anger will surround it. If the soul is dyed with neediness, then predators will appear who feast on need. If the soul is dyed with serenity, then only those who respect serenity will remain. We do not simply meet people, we summon them. We do not merely stumble into relationships, we shape them with the unseen hand of our inner condition. This truth is dark, for it strips us of the comfort of blaming fortune. We want to say, "I am good, but bad people find me." Yet Marcus whispers back, "Your life is dyed with the color of your mind." If we keep attracting the wrong people, we must ask, what in me keeps calling them forth? The law of resonance. The wrong people are not random. They resonate. Like a string that vibrates when another strikes the same note, we vibrate in harmony with certain souls. The insecure attract the domineering. The gullible attracts the deceiver. The one who cannot say no attracts the one who thrives on endless demands. It is not fate that binds us, it is resonance. And resonance is born of what we have not mastered within ourselves. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. So too, no man is more vulnerable than he who never faces his own flaws, for his flaws become the silent beacon that others exploit." The hunger within. Why do we crave wrong people? Why does the weak spirit open its gates again and again to betrayal, cruelty, and manipulation? Because hunger blinds. The Stoics spoke often about hunger, not only for food, but for pleasure, wealth, recognition, power. These hungers make us slaves, and when the soul is starving, it will feast on poison and call it nourishment. Epictetus warns, freedom is secured not by the fulfilling of one's desires, but by the removal of desire. As long as we hunger for love without self-respect, we will swallow counterfeit affection. As long as we hunger for approval, we will invite flatterers who drain us. As long as we hunger for companionship, we will cling to chains rather than stand in solitude. Thus, the wrong people are not accidents. They are the suppliers of our hungers. They come not because they are strong, but because we are weak. The mirror is cruel, but honest. This is where Stoicism cuts deepest. The wrong people are our reflection. The liar reflects our unwillingness to seek truth. The manipulator reflects our refusal to stand firm. The betrayer reflects our fear of solitude. The wrong people are not our curse, they are our diagnosis. Marcus Aurelius wrote with brutal honesty, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. If others distress us, it is because we have estimated them as necessary. We have declared in secret that without them we are incomplete, and so they stay. But when we see them as mirrors, we begin to understand. They reveal not what is wrong with the world, but what is ungoverned within us." The call to self-examination. Thus, the task is not to run from the wrong people, nor to pray that they vanish. The task is to stand before the mirror of the soul and ask, what weakness in me do they feed? What ungoverned desire makes their presence possible? What am I afraid to lose that I would tolerate their poison? Seneca advised, "Withdraw into yourself as far as you can. Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach." If we attract the wrong people, it is because we have not yet withdrawn into ourselves. We have not yet demanded that those around us elevate rather than destroy us. A shared journey. Here we must pause, for this path is not one of isolation. We are not alone in our struggle. We all, at different times, have invited the wrong people into our lives. We all have mistaken poison for wine, chains for friendship, flattery for love. We are united by this weakness, but we can also be united by the cure. The cure is not bitterness, not cynicism, not a cold rejection of all humanity. The cure is mastery of the self. For when the soul is mastered, only the worthy can remain. And so we walk together. We examine our hungers. We strengthen our boundaries. We reclaim solitude as power, not punishment. Then and only then does the mirror change. The first transformation. The world outside shifts only when the world inside is transformed. At first, the wrong people will still appear. They always will. But they will find no entry, no nourishment, no resonance. They will fall away, not because the world has changed, but because we have. This is the first transformation, not attracting better people, but ceasing to tolerate worse. And so our lives begin to shift subtly, silently, as we fortify the citadel within.
Part 2. Destructive emotions as a magnet. The ancient Stoics believed that man's greatest enemy was not the world, nor other people, but the tempest inside his own breast. Anger, fear, desperation, jealousy, neediness. These are not harmless moods. They are signals sent out into the world, invisible yet powerful, drawing to us those who know how to exploit them. Seneca said with brutal clarity, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." But what happens when fear rules us, when anger smolders in us, when loneliness consumes us? We become beacons. The wrong people need no map to find us. They follow the flame of our unrest. Anger, the invitation to conflict. An angry man does not repel conflict, he breeds it. He does not scare away the cruel, he entertains them. For to provoke him is easy, and to exploit him is simpler still. Marcus Aurelius warned, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Yet how often do we become mirror images of those who wrong us? We rage, we lash out, we react. And in doing so, we give them exactly what they sought: control over our mind. The wrong people are drawn to anger like hunters to prey. They know that if they can wound us, they can lead us. And so, anger becomes not our weapon, but our leash. To master anger is to starve them. To rise above provocation is to rob them of their victory. The one who cannot be angered cannot be controlled. Fear, the aroma of weakness. If anger attracts aggressors, fear attracts dominators. The fearful soul is the easiest to bind, for it will choose chains over uncertainty, oppression over solitude. Epictetus said, "Men aren't disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things." The fearful man magnifies threats that are not there. He invents prisons and then begs for guards. And the wrong people answer gladly, for to guard him is to rule him. We must ask, how many wrong relationships have we endured not out of love, but out of fear? Fear of loneliness, fear of rejection, fear of starting over. Fear is the scent that tyrants follow. The Stoic path is the path of fearlessness, not because life is harmless, but because fear itself is more destructive than the harm we dread. Neediness, the feast of manipulators. But if fear enslaves and anger provokes, neediness is the most poisonous magnet of all. Neediness is hunger made visible, and where there is hunger, there are always sellers of poison. Seneca wrote, "If you live in harmony with nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to what others think, you will never be rich." The needy soul does not live in harmony with nature. It lives in harmony with others' approval. It begs for validation, for attention, for affection. And so manipulators flock to it, for they know they can feed it scraps and receive loyalty in return. How many wrong relationships have we welcomed simply because we crave to be seen, to be touched, to be recognized? Neediness blinds us to truth. It convinces us that any company is better than solitude, any affection better than silence. But the Stoic sees solitude not as poverty, but as wealth. He sees independence as power, not punishment. He refuses to beg for love, for he carries dignity within. Desire without discipline. Anger, fear, neediness, all are forms of desire without discipline. Desire for revenge, desire for safety, desire for companionship. These desires are not evil in themselves, but when ungoverned, they are chains. Epictetus reminds us, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. And what lies beyond our control? The actions of others, the loyalty of friends, the affection of lovers. When we desire these without discipline, we lose freedom, and in losing freedom, we invite the wrong people to rule us. The training ground of the soul. But let us not despair, for every destructive emotion is also a training ground. Anger teaches us to master provocation. Fear teaches us to stand in uncertainty. Neediness teaches us to embrace solitude. Each wrong person who enters our life is not merely a curse, but a test. They arrive as examiners of our inner citadel. They probe our walls, seeking cracks. And when they find them, it is not they who have defeated us. It is we who have failed to fortify. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The wrong people are impediments, but they can become the way if we use them to see ourselves more clearly. Toward mastery. We must learn to quiet anger before it burns. We must learn to walk through fear without chains. We must learn to turn neediness into dignity. When we do, something miraculous happens. The wrong people no longer see us. Their magnet loses its pull. They pass by, for there is nothing left in us to exploit. It is not that the world changes, it is that our inner life stops sending out the invitation. Our shared burden. And here, let us remember, this is not a solitary struggle. We all feel anger, we all feel fear, we all feel the ache of neediness. We are not condemned for feeling them, but we are condemned if we surrender to them. Together, we must learn what the Stoics taught. Emotions are not masters, but servants. They must be disciplined, harnessed, brought under reason's command. For if they are not, they will summon to us those who thrive on chaos. This is our shared burden. This is our shared path. And it is only by walking it together, honestly, courageously, that we cease to be prey and begin to be free.
Part 3. The Stoic Perspective. If we were to sit in silence with the Stoics, those stern physicians of the soul, they would not comfort us with illusions. They would not say, "Do not worry, one day the wrong people will stop appearing." No, they would tell us the harder truth. The wrong people will always exist. They will surround us in every city, every house, every generation. But the Stoic would add, they do not have to rule your mind. They do not have to steal your peace. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor among wolves. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in the world, yet he lived among schemers, flatterers, liars, and traitors. If anyone had reason to despair of human nature, it was him. And yet he wrote to himself each morning, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." This is not pessimism, this is preparation. Marcus does not curse these people, he expects them. He knows that to live is to encounter the flawed. He knows that if he hopes for saints, he will be disappointed. But if he expects weakness, he can remain unshaken. And he continues, "They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil. But I, who have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, know that the wrongdoer has a nature akin to my own, and so none of them can hurt me." Here lies the emperor's strength. He does not give the wrong people the power to wound his soul. He sees them for what they are, ignorant, misguided, trapped in their own darkness, and he chooses not to hate, not to despair, but to remain master of himself. Seneca, the Stoic in the court of tyranny. Seneca lived in the court of Nero, one of history's most cruel emperors. Surrounded by intrigue, betrayal, and corruption, Seneca still wrote letters of calm wisdom. He did not say, "I will find a world without evil people." He said, "I will strengthen my soul so that evil people cannot touch it." In On Anger, Seneca writes, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." Why? Because the wrong people thrive on our reaction. They provoke, they test, they seek to see whether they can drag us into their chaos. But if we delay, if we refuse to react, we rob them of their victory. And in his letters, Seneca counsels, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." He does not say to isolate ourselves completely, only to choose companions wisely. The wrong people will appear, but we are not forced to embrace them. We can walk away, we can set boundaries, we can stand in solitude rather than be corrupted by bad company. Epictetus, the slave who became a teacher. Epictetus began life as a slave, enduring cruelty, humiliation, and abuse. If anyone could say, "I attract the wrong people," it was him. Yet he transformed chains into wisdom. He taught his students,
When someone is properly grounded in life, they shouldn't have to look outside themselves for approval. The wrong people prey on those who seek approval, but the self-sufficient man, the one who does not beg for validation, becomes untouchable. He cannot be manipulated, for he has no hunger others can feed. Epictetus also reminds us of the fundamental Stoic principle. Remember, it is not he who gives abuse or blows who insults, but the view that these things are insulting. The wrong person can spit venom, but if we do not drink it, it does not poison us. They can strike, but if we refuse to be inwardly wounded, their strike is hollow. The Stoic synthesis. From these three teachers, a single thread emerges. Wrong people are inevitable. They cannot be controlled, but they can be neutralized through self-mastery. Marcus prepares his mind in advance. Seneca delays his reactions and chooses companions with care. Epictetus strips away dependence on others' approval. Together, they teach us this: the wrong people cease to rule our lives when we cease to give them power. The Stoic challenge to us. The question then is not, how do I stop meeting the wrong people? The question is, how do I stop being wounded by them? How do I stop craving what they exploit? For the Stoic, the battlefield is not the outer world, but the inner one. If we lose the battle inside, if we remain needy, fearful, or angry, then the wrong people will always win. But if we conquer ourselves, they cannot touch us, no matter how loudly they rage, how cunningly they flatter, how deeply they betray. And so we must walk this road together, not as victims of fortune, but as soldiers of the inner war. We must prepare like Marcus. We must delay like Seneca. We must detach like Epictetus. Only then will the wrong people lose their grip on our lives. Only then will we discover the fortress that no betrayer, no manipulator, no tyrant can enter. The fortress of the disciplined soul.
Part 4. The role of desire and indifference. At the heart of every wrong relationship lies one root: desire without discipline. We desired affection, and so we tolerated counterfeit love. We desired approval, and so we bowed to flatterers. We desired companionship, and so we chained ourselves to the cruel. Desire in itself is not evil, but when ungoverned, it becomes the leash others use to drag us. Epictetus declared, "Freedom is not achieved by satisfying desire, but by eliminating it." To the modern ear, this sounds harsh. Eliminate desire? Live without wanting? Is that not emptiness? But Stoicism does not call us to emptiness. It calls us to indifference. Indifference, the Stoic weapon. Indifference does not mean we feel nothing. It means we feel with mastery. We enjoy companionship, but we do not depend on it. We welcome affection, but we do not beg for it. We accept approval, but we are not enslaved by it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Here lies the secret. If we do not estimate the wrong person as necessary, they lose their power. They may flatter, betray, abandon, but they cannot shatter us, for we remain whole without them. Desire in itself is not evil, but when ungoverned, it becomes the leash others use to drag us.
Why do we keep attracting the wrong people? Because desire sends the invitation. The fearful desire safety, and so tyrants come. The angry desire revenge, and so enemies linger. The needy desire affection, and so manipulators appear. But when desire is disciplined, the invitation is torn. The wrong people may knock at our door, but they will find it locked. Not by bitterness, not by hatred, but by serenity. Seneca warned, "He who needs riches least enjoys riches most." So too, he who needs people least enjoys people most. For he does not cling, he does not beg, he does not enslave himself for fear of loss. The fortress of the self. The Stoics spoke often of the inner citadel, the fortress within the soul that no army, no tyrant, no deceiver can breach. When we live in indifference, that citadel rises. Its walls are not hatred, but strength. Its gates are not locked by bitterness, but by discipline. And within, we walk freely. The wrong people may surround us, but they cannot enter. They may tempt us, but they cannot bind us. They may betray us, but they cannot destroy us. Marcus Aurelius, standing against betrayal and chaos, said simply, "No man can rob us of our free will." That is the citadel. That is the freedom. A dark gift. Here is the paradox. The wrong people are also a gift, for without them we would never know the cracks in our walls. They expose our anger, our fear, our neediness. They force us to see our desires in their rawest form, and so they become unwilling teachers. As Epictetus taught, difficulties are things that show a person what they are. The wrong people are difficulties in flesh. They reveal us to ourselves, and if we learn from them, they lose their power forever. Our final task. So what must we do? We must stop asking, "Why do I keep attracting the wrong people?" The world is filled with them. They will never vanish. Instead, we must ask, "Why do I tolerate them? What desire in me feeds them? What fear keeps me bound to them?" And then we must cut the leash, not by running away, not by hating, but by mastering ourselves. For when we discipline desire, when we embrace indifference, when we live in the citadel of the self, then and only then the wrong people vanish, not from the earth, but from our lives. They pass by, hungry for prey, but we are no longer prey. A call to arms. We are not victims of destiny. We are not cursed by fate. We are simply undisciplined. But discipline is within our reach. The Stoics left us the map. Let us take Marcus's preparation, Seneca's delay, Epictetus's detachment. Let us turn anger into calm, fear into courage, neediness into dignity. Let us raise the walls of our citadel until no wrong person can enter them. And then we will know freedom. Not the shallow freedom of being untouched by people, but the true freedom of being untouchable in spirit. The final word. We asked, "Why do I keep attracting the wrong people?" The answer is simple, brutal, liberating. Because we keep inviting them.
The invitation is our anger, our fear, our hunger. The answer is mastery, indifference, fortitude. And so, let us walk together into the discipline of the Stoics. Let us overcome destructive emotions. Let us reclaim solitude as power. Let us stand as fortresses that no wrong person can enter. This is the path of self-control. This is the path of fortitude. This is the path to freedom.